Hey you guys, that snowstorm we talked about hit. Hey, what's up you guys? Nick here. For those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Nick. I'm a professional photographer. I've been shooting professionally for about 3 years now, though I've had a camera in my hand for the last 15 or 16 years. And those of you who are checking out another video, thank you guys so much. Make sure you're subscribed. I hope the wind doesn't mess with the audio too much. It was a really nice day. It's like 75 degrees in January, or I guess it's February 1st. We're supposed to get snow tomorrow, so the wind is blowing in that cold front. But today I kind of really wanted to shoot outside, so here we are. So today I kind of want to talk about constructive criticism and my personal style of photography. I'm on a lot of Facebook groups for photographers, from beginning photographers to more advanced groups, as well as on a lot of online forums. And a lot of those groups include constructive criticism. Now, constructive criticism is so important to grow as a photographer. It's important to grow as an artist. But one of the things that I have a problem with posting for constructive criticism is that I have a particular style that I personally really like to shoot. And I'll share a photo right here. Now, the comment I get most often is that my white balance is wrong, and they are correct. My white balance is wrong. The white should be whiter. Everything's kind of got a blue-green tint to it. I prefer cool colors in my photography and like stuff I do for myself, or a lot of clients approach me for that kind of work because of that. So what I learned is I had to actually specify when I posted a photo for constructive criticism that these are the things I've done on purpose. I need feedback on these parts of it. Posing, things like that. Posing is still kind of hard for me. I'm still figuring it out. We'll do a video on what I have figured out, and I'll share that experience with you guys, and maybe I get some feedback on that video as well. But when you're asking for constructive criticism, you know, rule number one that I always follow when asking for constructive criticism is I always write down what exactly I want criticism on, what exactly I struggled with in the photo, or maybe there's something about the photo I don't like and I can't figure out what I don't like about it, and I need, you know, a third eye or a fourth eye in order to look at it and tell me, hey, you know, this kind of seems a little off, or hey, you know, your edges are a little soft, things along those lines, or maybe the pose wasn't right. But I always make sure that I know exactly what I'm asking for the constructive criticism. A rule 2 that I follow is, and I'm getting bad about not following this, and I really need to get better about it, but generally I'll explain some aspects of the photo that some see as a mistake as something I did purposefully. The white balance issue, as we talked about earlier, or I am very selective about what I focus in on. If parts of the model or parts of the client are blurry, I usually do that on purpose. I won't generally share a photo if I didn't take everything into account and do everything on purpose. So I always have to say, you know, these parts are blurry for a reason. It's part of the story I'm trying to tell. The white balance is off because it's kind of a mood I'm trying to set for this photo or for the piece of artwork that I'm working on. So I always make sure that I kind of discuss and say, you know, these are things I've done on purpose. These are things that I'm struggling with and I would want some criticism on. How would you guys have done this differently? And so on. So I'm actually going to show 2 images really quick, and I'm going to show the 2 different styles I can get out of the image. Now, this image is properly lit. It's got the proper white balance. It's a pretty standard photo. It looks good, but it's not really my style. Now, this is the kind of photo I would take for a client who approached me, engagement photos, couples photos, senior photos, stuff like that. There's no texturing, there's no extra filters or anything along those lines. It's a very standard photo. It looks really good, the catch light is great, but it's a pretty standard photo. Now, if I want to change the mood to it, I will usually jump to another white balance. So I really like tungsten. It adds a really cool bluing, kind of cool color tone to it, and so I'll throw it on a tungsten light balance. I'll usually bring the vibrance down, bring my contrast really up and my clarity really up, and you get a totally different feeling from the image just from that. Now, if I posted this image with those changes and I just say CC please, I'm going to get a lot of feedback on my color balance being wrong, my white balance being wrong, the darks maybe being too dark, or the lights being too light, too much contrast. So it's very important when you get on there and ask for constructive criticism, be clear on what you want your constructive criticism on. Be clear on what you did on purpose that might be considered a mistake to some photographers, and I'm not bashing them. A lot of my commercial work and a lot of my work with clients is that standard photography where you have the proper white balance, the proper contrast, you dodge and burn, and you make it look really, really good, but it's a photograph. So you have to be clear about that. On a lot of those forums and stuff, when people are asking for advice, they're generally asking, how can I make this look like your standard photo? And that's not always what you want. So make it clear that if you made those purposeful mistakes, you did that on purpose, because you're gonna get a bunch of comments saying, you know, your white balance is off, your contrast is off. And if you did that on purpose, it's not helpful for you to grow as a photographer. You're not always gonna get great feedback, and you're not always going to get feedback that's gonna help you with your photo. I'm not saying that someone's gonna troll you or someone's gonna say something nasty. That could happen, but that's not generally what it is. Generally, people have a certain style that they shoot, and they're gonna give you feedback based off of their style and their experience. Some of it is very helpful, some of it isn't helpful. You have to look into each one of those pieces of feedback and decide for yourself whether or not that is something that's gonna help you improve as a photographer, or if that's something that is part of your style as a photographer. Because the important part about photography is it is an art. Even those basic standard kind of photos, they're still a piece of art. It's still a work of art. There's still skill and knowledge and experience going into those photos. Make sure you find your style, but be versatile. If you want to make it as a professional, you have to be versatile. You have to be willing to shoot basically anything in any style that a client might come to you for, even if you're not too keen on that style. There's a lot of styles that I shoot that I don't like to shoot. So it's very, very important to be versatile and be open to that constructive criticism, because once you start sharing your images online, you are gonna get some hate. You are gonna get people that are mean. You have to sift through that. And then when you get to the good, positive comments, you still have to sift through that to make sure that those comments apply to you or apply to what you're trying to accomplish in your photography. Hey you guys, that snowstorm we talked about earlier in the video, it finally hit. So the wind was pretty bad the other day, and I wanted to finish this up outside because I'm really enjoying the weather and the lighting out here, and I don't always have the opportunity to shoot outside. So I usually shoot at nighttime on the weekends. That's why we're usually in my basement. But one of the things I wanted to bring up about constructive criticism that we didn't talk about in the beginning part of this video is giving constructive criticism. We've all gotten constructive criticism. I'm sure at some point in time in your photography journey, you've gotten constructive criticism, and it can sometimes come off as negative, even if the person giving it didn't mean for it to be negative. So I follow some rules when I give constructive criticism. The first thing I do is I always start with a compliment. So if I see a photo, you know, let's say it's a color photo, I'll be like, you know, I really love the colors in this. It's really vibrant. It's a great shot. You have good composition. And then I will give my constructive criticism. So let's say they're like, you know, my edges are a little softer than I want them to be, or the photo's a little bit softer. You know, I'll say something along the lines of, I really love the colors in this photo. Your composition is great. I see what you mean by it being a little bit soft. When you're shooting at a lower f-stop, you know, you usually get softer lines. If you bring it up a couple f-stops, you can still get the effect you want in the background, but that'll clear up some of the softness you're catching, or it'll sharpen the image up a little bit, shooting at a little bit higher of an f-stop. Shooting really wide open sometimes softens the image, so go ahead and give that a try and see if that helps you. So something along those lines. I always start with a compliment. I compliment the image, something I like about the image, and then I go through and give constructive criticism as well as a way that they could fix it or something for them to try. So it's very important that you don't want to be that negative Nancy that no one likes getting constructive criticism from. No one likes getting constructive criticism from someone who's just like, this photo sucks. That doesn't help you. That doesn't help you as the photographer, and it doesn't help the person you might be giving constructive criticism to. Why does it suck? What's wrong with it? What do you like about it? What parts of these images are good, and what part of the image is bad? When I give my constructive criticism, I still try to keep it positive. I try to keep it upbeat. That's what the compliment is for, the tonage. Tone is hard online when you're typing, but if I'm speaking to someone in person or I'm speaking to them on the phone, and they, you know, what do you think of this image? Well, you know, I really like this about it. I really love black and white. Let's say it's a black and white image. The contrast you've captured here is really, really great, but your composition's a little off. Like, where are you trying to direct me as a viewer? What part of the image do you want my eyes to go to? Okay, well, you know, you wanted my eyes to go over here, but that's a little bit blurry, and my eyes actually went here. You know, try the rule of thirds, and we'll do a video on the rule of thirds, you guys. But that's kind of my take on constructive criticism. When you're posting, be clear what you want constructive criticism on, what it is about your image that you want to learn about, what you can do to fix it. If you do something purposefully that isn't like a traditional good photo or a traditional photo in that sense, like you tried a different white balance, or you tried some experimentation. Make that known that you tried that. Make that known that you made these little mistakes, these mistakes, but you did them on purpose because you were trying to do something, and this is what you want constructive criticism on. So if you make it clear what you want your constructive criticism to be over, and you make it clear what you did on purpose, it'll allow the viewer or the person trying to give you constructive criticism to more clearly tell you what it is you can try to fix that. And then when giving constructive criticism, try to remain positive, give a couple compliments, let them know, what they can do to fix it, or if you've run into that before and how you fixed it, and be as clear and constructive as possible with it. That way we can all grow as photographers. So I want to thank you guys again so much for joining me. It's getting a little bit cold, so I'm going to head inside. If it starts snowing again, we'll do a video on shooting snowflakes. I'll let you guys know on that one. So don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you guys can see all of my uploads. All my social media is down below, as well as my new t-shirt designs. I linked those. So thank you guys again so much. You have a wonderful day, and try to stay warm. Bye.